Hey guys, LevelCap here, and today in gaming, Reddit has truly gone wild over GameStop, Capcom is riding high thanks to Resident Evil, The Division gets some real competition, and much more. If you've been paying attention to financial news in the past few days, you might have heard that a group of Redditors are fighting back against a scheme to bankrupt GameStop via the stock market. The short version of this story is that the Wall Street's Bets subreddit noticed a multi-billion-dollar hedge fund called Marvin Capital was shorting the struggling company's stock. This means that they were borrowing shares, selling them, and then hoping to return the shares by rebuying them at a lower cost later. The plan was foiled in what's called a short squeeze. Redditors started buying as much GameStop stock as they could, driving the value of the stock way up. It got to the point where the hedge fund was billions of dollars in debt and had to get rid of their shares. It's estimated that the whole fiasco cost them over 30% of their $12.5 billion in assets. Yet the story gets even crazier. Now multiple retail trading platforms like Robinhood, TD Ameritrade, and Fidelity are preventing users from buying GameStop and other stocks that have been targeted by the Wall Street Bets Redditors. The lockdown is seen as these companies trying to protect hedge funds and other big players from everyday people's collective buying power. What started as basically a meme of attempting to save GameStop and make a quick buck has turned into a middle-class versus ultra-rich financial war. There's no telling how serious things will get. The SEC and congressional lawmakers are weighing in, calling for investigations into Robinhood and other companies like it. There's even been a class action lawsuit filed against Robinhood in New York. Now, this whole situation has good and bad consequences for everyone involved. Where things go from here is really anyone's guess, but it's clear history is being made all thanks to GameStop and Reddit. Capcom's recent success with Resident Evil and Monster Hunter franchises have boosted their income by over 30%. The boost is the company's highest third-quarter profit ever. Considering just a few years ago, Resident Evil was a franchise that was getting torn to shreds by reviewers and players, it's remarkable to see it become the company's crown jewel. Resident Evil 6 is one of the worst reviewed games in the franchise, but it was followed by Resident Evil 7, which restored the franchise's reputation and updated its formula with a modern FPS perspective and more streamlined gameplay. On top of that, Capcom has also put out stellar remakes of Resident Evil 1 and 2, with the remake of 2 being an improvement in almost every meaningful way. A hotfix for Cyberpunk 2077 just went live, fixing a game-breaking bug introduced with its latest update. The bug would stop progress on a very key main quest, preventing players from finishing the game. Another issue involving a save/load exploit is under investigation. The game's next major patch is expected to launch in a few weeks and should be a much more substantial addition to the game. Graphics card prices are set to keep climbing thanks to increased memory costs. Tariffs recently drove up GPU costs by as much as 25%. The rising costs of GDDR5 and 6 and 6X memory used by GPUs will pressure manufacturers to raise MSRP. How much they're going to raise it is unclear, but you can expect to pay even more at some point soon. What makes this whole situation so frustrating for consumers is that these price increases are happening during a massive supply shortage. Scalpers are buying hardware by the boatload and selling it at an average of an 85% markup on eBay. Supply isn't expected to normalize until the summer at the earliest, leaving customers who want new hardware between a rock and a hard place. You can either sit on these stock alerts hoping to grab some hardware before the bots, pay an absurd markup to scalpers, or wait until supply normalizes as the MSRP of hardware rises. If you thought The Division seemed like a cool idea for a game but were disappointed by its unrealistic survival elements and bullet sponge enemies, there's a new game on the horizon that might pique your interest. The Day Before is an upcoming open-world survival MMO launching on Steam in Q2 of this year. The reveal trailer shows off some of the character customization system, gameplay, and gives a bit of insight into the game's story. Like The Division, The Day Before is set in a post-pandemic America, complete with survivors that will kill to defend themselves and zombies infected by the virus. The game has a focus on realism and leans into the weather system as a survival mechanic. The only stick in the mud is that the developer Fantastic is a mobile game studio that has never tackled a project like this before. Tencent has purchased a minority stake in Life is Strange developer Dontnod. They recently announced a round of fundraising to help them stay independent. Of the $48.5 million they needed to raise, $36.3 million came from Tencent. The Chinese mega company has been on a buying spree in the last few months, buying up multiple indie studios and publishers. Their recent acquisition was Clay Entertainment, the folks behind the game Don't Starve. Control Ultimate Edition owners are demanding refunds after it was revealed this edition of the game is being added to February's PlayStation Plus free games lineup. PlayStation 5 owners had to buy this edition of the game to get its next-gen upgrade, even if they already owned another version. That was a problem for many players on its own. Sony have a 14-day refund policy, and it seems like many players will take advantage of it. The issue is that downloading or otherwise playing the game at all negates an automatic refund. Upcoming PlayStation 5 exclusive Returnal has been delayed to April. The game is a sci-fi take on the classic Groundhog Day story concept. You play as a pilot stranded on an alien planet unable to die. It's basically a roguelike with very high production value and seems like a pretty strong demonstration of the console's hardware. It was originally supposed to launch on March 19th, but will now release on April 30th. The Epic Games Store has nearly doubled its user count since 2019. It's now at over 160 million users. Epic gave away 749 million copies of the games throughout 2020, which is likely a critical factor in their explosive growth. While the platform still lags behind its competitor Steam, it's clear Epic is becoming a real alternative in terms of features and user count. Valve have finally stepped in to deal with the CSGO coaching scandal. Coaches are barred from being on the same server, in the same room, or on comms with players during online tournaments. They're also issuing bans for coaches that the ESIC found guilty of abusing the coach bug exploit in official matches. The bans range from being ejected from a single major or being permanently barred from Valve's tournaments. The bans affected as many as 37 coaches to varying degrees. Before we get to our final story today, I just wanted to let everyone know that we're running short versions of Today in Gaming over on Twitter or on our YouTube Shorts channel. If you don't have time to watch a full news video, this will give you some of the top stories in a bite-sized format. Check them out, they're linked in the video description. The indie strategy board game Deflection will be offering a free demo during Steam's upcoming summer festival. The demo will include a selection of maps and may offer multiplayer support. Deflection is expected to launch sometime this year, but it's unclear when. It's based on Laser Chest and the board game Ket. The visuals are pretty cool, and it seems like an interesting concept for a tabletop game. And that wraps it up for Today in Gaming. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.